Welcome to ID Nord's Identity Spotlight, the video podcast series where we shine a bright light on the dynamic world of identity security. Join us as we explore key issues and innovative solutions with experts in the field. Stay tuned and stay identity informed.
Gustav, good to see you again.
Likewise.
So, last time we talked about cybersecurity trends and how identity security and basic identity hygiene is of great importance. Another trend that I've encountered is on how businesses are talking about cybersecurity and identity security as well. And that is that nowadays they want to use more metrics around the cybersecurity measures. I mean, traditionally it has been a lot of ROI, I mean return in money that you can gain. Nowadays they tend to more want to be able to talk about other types of metrics. And I think it might be a good I mean, if you think of an insurance, you pay for the insurance, but you don't actually get a yield and a monetary gain from it.
That's right.
If you don't hit into a wall or something. But so this is also what we see coming up more and more. So the cybersecurity dialogue has moved up to top management and the boards. And I would say that, of course, they are interested in ROI.
Of course.
It would be wrong to not talk about that. But they are also more acquainted with talking about what type of risks they can accept.
That's great. So the conversation is moving more towards, like you compared it to an insurance, other than what it's previously been doing, where we're talking about return on investment, how much money will we earn back on these initiatives, but instead seeing it as a real insurance for cybersecurity threats and how it's valuable, not in terms of money, but in terms of what it can do for the organization and how it can benefit the organization in other ways.
And it becomes a little bit more easy to value the investments also if you can tie it to an risk and say and talk about how our security posture actually improves by doing that investment, rather than saying, okay, we really need to have this. And it's not enough, I would say. So these metrics that tend to pop up, they are again to build up the resilience against cyber attacks. So that's the big topic organizations are talking about. And of course, identity security is having their own metrics and variables that can be also measured in this.
All right, so you mentioned different kinds of new metrics today. What are some examples of those compared to the previous old metrics that we used?
So the new metrics are more targeted to measure the effects or the risk reduction that you can gain. So, for instance, as we talked last time about the identity security hygiene that you want to get to at least a basic level. We talked about MFA, for instance.
Very important.
Very important. So how big is your MFA coverage? How many applications do you have under MFA login? How many of the logins across your organization is based on MFA? So again, we are getting resilient towards cyber attacks because they can't buy these credentials from the dark web. So another one is also the data quality. So how many accounts do you have that have been unused or orphaned? How many accounts aren't validated towards your least privileged principles? So typically you get these new measures, either that you try to measure them in coverage and percentage, or in some sort of time. So others could be when an employee has terminated their employment, how fast should all the accesses be terminated or removed. So and by using that type of percentage and time metrics, you can have the dialoguing with the top management and board about the risk, as I said. So the longer you have an account that is active when the user has been offboarded, the longer it's active, the bigger your risk becomes, because at some point, because that account is not managed or controlled by a person on a daily basis or used on a daily basis, we don't perhaps detect that something fishy is going on.
True.
And so these types of metrics are then rather related to the risk levels and accepting. So another example from the cybersecurity world is how fast should you apply patches when vulnerabilities are identified or detected. So the faster you apply patches, the less likelihood you have that somebody has actually used that vulnerability for an attack.
True.
So
other of these outcome-driven metrics then could then be, for example, about my area of expertise, privilege access management. When we're talking about privileged accounts, admin accounts, etc. Would it be fair to say that you could then use the coverage of an organization's privileged accounts, how many of them are managed by, for example, a PAM solution? That could be an outcome-driven metric.
Absolutely. So, and that was also what we talked about in the identity hygiene, the importance of getting into control of the privileged accounts and privileged accesses. So definitely, those are applicable metrics. You could also look at metrics in terms, I mean, the recommendation is to have just-in-time controlling and management of the admin privileges, so that you don't have static accounts. And also those could be utilized for your metrics and be measured from a PAM perspective, definitely.
So there's a huge variety of these different kind of metrics that we could use to further this initiative. And I find it very interesting that we're moving away from return on investment, away from monetary compensation, really, towards what can security really do for an organization, and looking at least in my opinion, the more important parts, because it's not all, it is somewhat about money, yes, in the end.
There's always a cost.
Always a cost, right? But it's very hard to measure these things in a monetary value. So I find it very interesting, and it sounds very good.
And I think cybersecurity has always struggled with bringing up the value, because it isn't monetary. It is more of an insurance, a protection, and protection level, and so these are also what you tie in to the metrics that you talk about protection level agreements. Actually, where you agree with management or the board on what target levels our metrics should be. So it's pretty much like KPIs. And then you can justify, in order for us to reach a certain level in the metrics, we need to do some investments. And by that you get the risk reward from that you mitigate your risks.
Fantastic.
So it's pretty much all about helping the dialogue from the more technical people, and have a more fruitful discussion around the risk reward with the management levels. I think these metrics is something that we can can agree upon and use as a force to move forward, rather than ROI. Of course, in ROI is still there.
Always.
Identity security has quite a few benefits from a monetary perspective as well, like license optimizations, that you remove unused licenses, you gain benefits, you get efficiency benefits in that people are more efficient or get their accesses more efficiently. So there are definitely ROI aspects as well, not to be forgotten.
Yeah.
But as a whole, it's more easy to get cybersecurity and identity security to join forces and have a common way of evaluating them and see the value that they bring in terms of risks instead.
I'm looking forward to seeing the shift more towards these outcome-driven metrics in the future, and I hope this trend progresses and becomes, it's going to become easier for us to help our initiatives, for organizations to justify their investments, and overall I think the comparison to an insurance is spot on, because it really, that's what it is in the bottom.
It is.
Really good. Thank you for sharing as always, Sami.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise.
That's all, folks. Stay tuned and stay identity informed.